Welcome, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Voices of Oneness and the Earth Keeper Summit. Hi, I'm Adam Hall, and I'm excited to be here today with you and very excited to be here today with Dr. Ervin Laszlo. I was ruminating on our call today, Dr. Laszlo, and welcome, by the way. It's great to be here with you and see you again.
It's welcome to you. As I said, this is a great delight, and it's an important occasion for me to have this conversation. I think we will touch a lot of people's hearts and souls, and that is the way we try to go forward.
Yeah. Well, I'm trusting that, and I'm feeling that as these extraordinary times are calling all of this in one way or another. But as I was kind of feeling in and having a little bit of tea this morning by the fire here, I was thinking about our connection today. And one of the things that I kept coming forth for me was the old Chinese saying, "May we live in interesting times." And of course, that was shared the millennia ago, and it was essentially a curse of sorts. And I kept feeling, may we live in extraordinary times. And I would say by any measure, and I think you might agree, that we are in an extraordinary period on planet Earth. And I would just love to hear some of your thoughts, maybe to help us, let's create a little context perhaps around the conversation. What are we thinking in terms of where we are and where we're going? And of course, I've always admired you because you say it like it is. So please, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this.
Well, Adam, if you look at it only in the perspective of here and now, then you see crisis, then you see frustrations, then you don't see the future. That is a short-term perspective that is like cutting out from a film just one frame. And that frame can now be a frustrating one that shows difficulties. But if you look at a little more of that film, you see how it continues, where it came from. When you look at it as extended time frame, then you see that our times are not a time of crisis. It's a time of fluctuation, a time of an evolutionary leap. What we have to learn and understand that evolution is not a linear process, not goes little by little, piece by piece, bit by bit. Evolution goes by leaps and bounds, by sudden jumps, leaps forward. It can be also backwards, can be down also, but it can go up. And then we are at this point where you can go either way, the tipping point, the bifurcation point. Then we have a unique chance. It's a unique moment in history, the first time in human history where a group of conscious people recognizes where we are, the options that we have, and can choose among the options that we want to take. The option is simply our continued evolution on Earth. If we don't choose the right option, we could become extinct on the planet. If we choose the right options, we will thrive and we become a positive force, a positive element on the planet. It's in our hands. All of these things are possible. The interesting and important point is that here we have a unique chance to exercise our consciousness, exercise our insight, as you are doing with your books and with your programs. It's really opening up the door to this universe in which evolution is an ongoing process. It's a natural process. It's not just humanity. It's the whole life on Earth is an evolution. Life wherever in the universe is an evolution. But here we are part of this evolution of the Gaia system, the evolution of this biosphere. And if you look at it close by, you see one segment of this evolution. I would say look at it broader. Look at it and see it's a fluctuation. It's the preparation for a leap. Will we leap? We can leap. That we can know. How we take it is up to us now. But if you continue, carry on conversations, upshift conversations, conversations that you go do regularly, then we have a chance, I think, to shift up. And that is my credo, and that is my ambition, and also my mission.
Well, thank you for that. And I think it very much speaks to the time that we're in, but the power of our choice to choose into the moment. And the beauty of evolution, as you know, as a longtime student, teacher, as am I, of a conscious evolution, is that there are those periods, as you mentioned, that create that momentum. That word that you're using is the upshift. And, one of the things that's intrigued me over the last, quite a few years, Dr. Laszlo, is the evolution of Earth, evolution of human, the evolution of species, and all the things that have gone on during an evolutionary period. And one of the things that, addition, my concern by the loss of biodiversity on the planet, loss of population of invertebrates, and these kind of things inspired me to say this needs to be further looked at. So it's great to hear from you that this upshift of our evolution is available to each of us. And if you maybe you've seen that where that punctuated point of evolution, that bar chart that just goes like this, where in a very short period of time, evolution is jumping dramatically. And we live in such a time, as you mentioned to me, but I want to speak to you a little more specifically about this upshift. Because if you think about it, if we're going into a moment of great change, do we not need this momentum, this coming together of our togetherness, not our individuality, but our oneness, to create the momentum so that we can actually move in and through this next evolutionary period? Isn't that necessary to do to make this happen?
I think it is. So I think we should greet the crisis because it's a challenge.
Yeah.
Crisis is not danger, it's opportunity. Depends on whether you recognize it or for what it is. It's a transition period. It can be a shift up. And it's my mission, my religion, so to speak, is to help this process of shifting up. Why is this realistic? For two reasons. One, because we don't need to upshift the entire human population. There is no power on earth that could do that, but it's not needed. What we need to do is to upshift the mentality, the mindset of small groups of people. The larger, the better. But the critical mass is already a small group of people. Why? Because the world is in crisis and is super sensitive to change. It's unstable. We talk about unsustainability. Let's talk about instability also. The world that we have created has become unstable. And that point is sensitive to change. So here, the possibility for change is opening up. We no longer are facing the dead, heavy hand of history. We are at the fringe, at the opening threshold, which could lead us to a whole new world. And why I'm optimistic about it, reasonably optimistic. I'm not deterministic. I don't say it will happen. I say it can happen. And it's up to us to make it happen. And I think we are making it happen. Why? The second point is that I mentioned is because this momentum that you speak about, it is in us. It's not a response to some external condition. It's not a reaction to what's happening in the world around us, even to what we are doing to the world. It's in us. It's built in. Why is it in us? Just take a step back to the Big Bang. 13.8 billion years ago, the chaos, the universal chaos, began as process of structuration, a process whereby coherent systems came about. First came hydrogen nuclei, then hydrogen atoms, then helium, then all the atoms of the table of the table of elements. Then came molecules and macromolecules and crystals. They consolidated together in the course of time, of course, and through many nonlinearities, many gaps and changes and halts and reverses, but moving forward, moving ineluctably forward, moving to the level of cells and living organisms. We are part of that tremendous upshift movement which is in the world. The first step was the creation of hydrogen, okay? The next step is to creating a planetary civilization on this planet. We are already moving that way. It's remarkable and to my mind, very encouraging that whenever we talk about problems today, even crises and challenges, we are talking the global level. We are now see humanity as a system on this planet, a system that is undergoing a transition. From looking at it from the outside and more with the positive mindset, we say humanity is beginning to organize itself on the planet. It was fine to be unorganized, to let things happen as they do, as long as our powers were so limited that we didn't affect more than our immediate environment. Then we could experiment. One thing happened, another one didn't affect. Entire species around us, entire cultures around humanity disappeared. But the beat went on, it continued. And this unfolding of the inner momentum, which started with the Big Bang, continues. And it's in us. And it's up to us to bring it to our consciousness. It will take us forward. Let me just add this one thing, this is an interesting thing. Young people in Star Wars greet each other, may the force be with you. And I say, yes, let the force of evolution be with you, be with each of us. It is with us. Allow it to come to your consciousness. What is this force? It's a force toward oneness, a force toward bringing together diverse plans, diverse systems into a more coherent overall system, a structure. Unlike we think, the atom and the molecule, as we started with that, is not a dead system. It's not a physical system. It's a movement. It's an evolutionary movement. And an atom already is an incredibly complex and coordinating and coherent system. What is happening in the world in this very large perspective, the largest perspective at all that you can have had, what is happening? Coherence is growing. A total incoherence at the Big Bang. And now a world that is so coherent that Einstein said it is a miraculous world. The miracle is that we can understand something of this world because the world is coherent. Okay, so despite the problems that we have, despite the chaos and the crisis, coherence is growing. Humanity is getting organized on this planet. Now we have to get organized because we wield such powers that if we don't get organized, we endanger our very existence. We endanger the future of life on the planet. Before we could experiment, now we have to go consciously forward. That is what I want to say. That is what I want to call your attention. You are doing that. You are a conscious guide to evolution. And that's what we need. We have to multiply Adam halls in this universe, on this earth, and then we move forward.
Well, thank you for that nice place of connection. And I take that to heart because I believe that is the place where we are connecting with others that are coming to the World Upshift movement. And I've been excited about what's going on at the movement as well. And I really like how you're framing how the planet in relationship, to the greater quantum field is inviting us mere humans to reorganize ourselves, both individually and collectively. In your previous book, you spoke about the bifurcation. We've long heard about this great paradigm shift. And as a student and a lover of Mother Nature, I've been often fascinated in my study and research about what she does to reorganize, to really reimagine herself. And she doesn't think in terms of stability or, creating sustainability. She regenerates. She moves through a constant state like the quantum field of reorganization to constantly be in a perpetual state of its own evolution to create equilibrium and balance in universes, for that matter. So I ask, and I want to throw out to you now, because you and I have been in this journey for a while in our own ways and doing the work that we have. There's 8 billion people on our planet now. And the vast majority of them are in the teens, in the 20s, in the 30s, even in the early 40s. And what would you like to say, and what would you share with these younger generations about the world upshift movement? We've got so many opportunities and so many possibilities with the internet and so many movements and so much going on. Thank goodness. But I'm very excited about the World Upshift movement because it's consolidated into a place of invitation of the power to be together in community to get that upshift, to get that momentum. What would you share with these generations that are really going to steward us all and this planet forward?
In the recent past, we talked about the upshift that's coming, or a change that's coming.
Yeah.
We are now in the change.
We're in it.
In the upshift.
Totally.
Okay. And at this particular moment, it's not a question of writing more reports or just I'm trying to point out that we need to do this and we need to do that. It's a point now where we need to help people to do it, to actually join together and do it.
Yeah.
So that the time changes from reports to movements, movements, popular movements, great movements, global level movements. Seems utopian. Can we get such a movement underway? And seems hopeless. And no, first of all, the instability, the openness, the crisis is breaking open the old system and it's paving the way to the new, to something different. What it will be still depends on us. How do we know that we're going the right way? We know it in us. I would say to young people, understand that the force that you're talking about is a force that's in you. It's in every quantum in your body, in every cell, in every organ. It's in your brain, it's in your heart. You can bring it forth. It has to be on your waking consciousness. When you meditate, when you sleep or in a half-way sleep state, okay, you naturally access this. And unless you're corrupting it, unless you are frustrated and depressive, this natural sense of who we are comes through in this altered state. And altered state is a state of belonging, is a state of oneness. And it's expressed for young people and for everybody who's sensitive enough as a state of love, universal and unconditional love. So it's in us. Don't look for it outside, not above you. It's below, if anything, but it's in you, in your heart, in every bit of your body, in every cell. So join together, allow this to come forth. And as you share your insight, your really insight within human sight, then you recognize that each of you have come up with the same thing. It's remarkable. All the great, I would say this without conditional, but almost all, I would say all the great spiritual people in the world, when in their deepest state of advanced vision, come up with this notion. We are part of a universe which held together in love and by love. That is our destiny. It doesn't look like it if you look at the world from the current short-term perspective, but underneath it, Underneath it, there's a process of joining together. The very fact that we're talking like this, we can talk about this, we couldn't have talked like this a year ago, certainly not 5 years ago or more. We are now at a point where we recognize that we are in a crisis, which is an opportunity. The upshift has started, and it's up to us not to give in. The one danger that I have above all, it's not so much the climate change, it's not so much energy shortage, it's not so much economic, but the danger is the loss of faith, the loss of belief that we can make it. This sitting down and in pessimism, in depression, in frustration, and say there's no help for it. Then we can break open the system. Then the bifurcation goes down, a downshift. But if we can manage to keep our wits, keep our heart, our vision alive, then we'll carry it through at a point where we begin to recognize and to realize and to achieve this deepest sense, this deepest impetus toward oneness, to wholeness, toward coherence. Coherence is a great word. I just want to add this one word. When you say, it's Einstein said it, and Bohr said it, and all the great physicists said they're saying it. Coherence is what holds a system together. It's not a mechanical force. It's not just a structure. Every living system is a dynamic system. Actually, it exists far from this inert state, which is a thermodynamic equilibrium. We are operating as living systems in a state of dynamic wholeness, constantly correcting. We are not going down, coming apart. When a person dies, when an organism dies, then his body is moving down. But the new system, the one that is replacing it, one going forward, is shifting up, always creating a new system, far from inert equilibrium into a dynamic equilibrium, a dynamic change. We have to keep that up. We have to recognize that that's what we are. That's what life is. Life is not a passive movement toward lesser and lesser levels. It's not entropy. That was the old physics. That was the old way of thinking. Now we know negentropy, negative entropy, the real energy level in the quantum system, in the quantum field of which we are a part. That is fueling us and moving us forward. Now, this is reflected in our mind, in our consciousness. The big challenge is not to lose heart, but to gather this, to hook onto this tremendous movement forward, the movement of evolution, allow it to come forth to our consciousness, join together, and together go to the next step, the next state, the next phase of evolution, which is increasingly more encompassing, more diverse, more dynamic systems, social, ecological, economic, political systems, and human biological systems as well. All of us, all of this together is the next evolution, a higher level of coherence with greater love, greater oneness on the surface of this planet.
Well, thank you for that. And what I'm hearing a bit here is this invitation, and thank you for pressing Dr. Lasso, because the invitation for all of us, wherever we are in our particular evolutionary journey, whatever age we are, that's less relevant. The relevancy is the invitation is for all of us to come into this coherence so that we have the momentum of this upshift. And coming to the World Upshift Movement is the idea of where we actually are living it, where we get to be it. And if we think about coherence, folks, we're thinking about how we co-hear, how we are hearing the vibration, the heart of others, how we're connecting to Earth, how we're connecting to the quantum field. And one of the moments when you were sharing, I felt our beloved brother and colleague and dear friend, Dr. Bruce Lipton, speaking of in his epigenetic scientific genius about how the coherence lives in us, how the frequency of upshifting and coming into a greater unity and wholeness lives within us. And I would use the word, it inhabits us. And it's benevolent. It's loving us and asking for its place of connection. And many say, well, how do you do that? How do we go about this deeper coherence and this deeper connection? And of course, we don't have time to get into a lot of things today around that, but it's less what I have found, and I'd love to hear your wisdom of the ages on this one. It's less about how we're doing it. It's how we're holding our sense of feeling and our heart sense of connection and evolving our story. If you think about it, we have the power to be in that place of connection and choose a new story. And in that journey, that alone can allow us to become more coherent. And love to just have that discussion maybe at another time. But, as we kind of round the turn here a little bit, and what are your thoughts about the journey into that coherence? How can people really connect into that field of, love, but ultimately the coherent field, the cooperative field, the co-creative field, by activating that place within them that's alive and wants to express itself? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, Adams, thanks for putting this question forward, which is the most fundamental question that we could possibly ask. I'd like to add to the answer, or frame this answer under two words. One is consciousness. The other one is non-locality. You're not talking about a physical universe alone. The universe has a physical aspect. But as we come increasingly to recognize, particularly in the quantum sciences, it also has an aspect, which is a mind aspect, which is consciousness. Consciousness is not just a byproduct of the functioning of the centers, neurons in the brain. Consciousness is something that is an element in the world as fundamental as information and energy, and more fundamental than matter. Matter seems to be a kind of an illusion, not the basic reality. But consciousness is among the most basic realities that there is. And consciousness is not local. It could be localized in your brain and in my brain, in our body, but it's not local, because we only are transmitters of consciousness. The consciousness as such exists in the quantum field that you've been writing about and talking about, what I call the Akashic field. And consciousness is connected. Consciousness is the connection. Consciousness is non-local. My consciousness is a readout, is a projection of cosmic consciousness, of which we are a part. No smaller scientist, as Erwin Schrödinger said, there is no sense in which you can talk about consciousness in the plural. There is only one consciousness. And there's a whole literature now growing up around this idea of one consciousness, of which we are a part. So we are not connecting external things to one another and building bridges between A and B. We are both A and B. We are non-local. Our consciousness is a cosmic consciousness. And perhaps one of our ultimate reasons for existence on this planet, or for life to come about and move to this level where it can become conscious, is to bring consciousness into the universe, to articulate it, so that the universe becomes self-conscious, recognize itself. This is an ancient insight, as you know, in Buddhism and Ayurvedic thinking and in Tao. The universe becomes conscious through us. And this is perhaps our chance, our challenge. If we don't give up, if we don't let go due to a fluctuation bringing us to a lower level temporarily, but go up to a higher level than ever, if we hold on, I think we'll develop a higher level of consciousness where more and more we'll be recognizing that we are each other, that I am you, and I'm all life on the universe. I have this sense of oneness. In deep moments of introspection, in meditation, prayer, altered states of consciousness, enjoyment of nature or of art, all of these moments, we have that sense. It has to imbue our everyday world, our everyday awareness, because with that sense, we don't compete with others to say either you or me. So that is me, and let's forget about you. Is this sense of oneness we recognize we can't do to others without doing it to ourselves, because we are both others and ourselves. There are no true others. There is nothing, no foreigners. We are all part of the human family, which is part of the family of life. And this is a family of increasing coherence and increasing wholeness. It's a chance now where this recognition coming forth, high time, as we said, because otherwise we risk creating major problems. But now we can take our evolution into our hands, because we recognize that evolution is toward coherence, toward oneness, motivated and bonded by love. If we can take that from us, from the depths of our consciousness, we'll become a positive factor. We'll become a real change agent in this universe, on this planet. That's our mission. And I think it's wonderful that we can be becoming aware of that and we begin to act on it. So beyond and beneath all the chaos, all the turbulence, all the depressions and everything, there is this fantastic recognition. We are recognizing who we are. We are the real carriers of evolution on this planet. And our mission is to create a higher level of consciousness with love and in love, so that we can jointly create also the physical, chemical, and biological and ecological conditions in which life can flourish. When it flourishes, then consciousness develops as well, because it's a reflection of the physical, biological, ecological state of the system. Exciting times. Yes, indeed, as you said in the beginning, may you live in interesting times. These are super interesting times, but this is not a curse. This is a benediction. May you recognize that you live in super interesting, super crucial times, and then get up and act and be with it. Make it go forward.
Well, I love that, and I really must say it's been a joy to hang out with you here today, Dr. Laszlo. I've enjoyed it immensely, and joining together and just feeling into this conversation, feeling into the upshift movement, feeling into this coming time that may be turbulent in its own way and likely will be, but keep our eye on what really counts, the place where we are one. Namaste. Let's be in that place where we also celebrate. And I believe that's the invitation, is to come into these kind of conversations, to come into a place where we are celebrating our interconnectivity with Earth, with each other, with the quantum field, to come into a place, because in that place of interconnectivity, that momentum, as we spoke of, can really move us forward in and through this together. Everybody belongs. Everybody has its place. Everybody has their own place of a joy. And it's, just being in that connection field. And I've enjoyed being in that field with you today, Dr. Laszlo. And I say, what do you say as we make the turn and move forward together? I'd love to hear any closing thoughts from you.
We need conversations like this. People like you. There are a few, but there aren't many. Conversations like this also are coming around. We need that. That's the way forward. You are a champion of the new wave for humanity. And people like Adam Hall need to be replicated, need to be cloned, so that we can really have the force to move ahead. This is a very different mindset, as we have been talking about the past half hour or 45 minutes. Very different mindset from that we read in the newspapers or hear in the daily news or talk on with neighbors about. Mostly very different. But this is more real because this is based on our deepest recognition coming from the sciences, in your case, very heavily based on the new quantum sciences, on the new philosophy of the sciences, the new worldview. This is not just imagination. This is rock solid, bottom, good science. And this science, the philosophy of it, the vision of it, is what can help us to have the confidence to move forward, because we are change agents. We are agents of evolution. And the love that we feel is a cosmic love, is a universal, unconditional love. When we feel it, we are moving forward. We are then the champions. We are the people who will make for a better world. Finally, we now can make a better world. We need to, but we can. And that is a tremendous thought, a tremendous recognition. Enough for us to sit up and say, let's stand up and let's get going. The time is right, and the time is now. And it's a good time, an exciting time.
The time is now, and the time is an exciting time. And wherever you may be and whatever you may be going through, the invitation is there. We welcome you. And on behalf of Dr. Laszlo and myself, we want to celebrate life with you and life together and upshift together into a movement of our greater potentiality as beings, as light, as love. And we leave you in a place that can never be left. We hold you all in a place that will always be held in our hearts, in our place of presence. And we look forward to our journey forward. Thank you and for being here, and bless you.
Adam, thank you for being with us, a unique person in a unique time.